Hi everyone. So far, we've studied the two key components of any market: demand, which is how consumers behave, and supply, which is how firms behave. But these two sides do not exist in isolation. Markets only work when buyers and sellers interact. So today, we ask a central question: how is the price of a good actually determined? To answer that, we introduce the concept of market equilibrium. Let's think about real markets. Why do shortages occur? Why do some prices rise quickly while others remain stable? Why don't prices just stay fixed? The answer lies in the interaction between demand and supply. In this lesson, we bring these two forces together to understand how markets coordinate decisions through prices. Let's now combine demand and supply on a single diagram. We know the demand curve slopes downwards and the supply curve slopes upward. The point where these two curves intersect is called the equilibrium. This is one of the most important concepts in economics. At the equilibrium point, quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. There is no excess demand and there is no excess supplies. The market clears. This equilibrium price is often called the market clearing price. At this price, everyone who wants to buy can buy and everyone who wants to sell can sell. So why does equilibrium actually happen? The answer lies in the price mechanism. If the price is too low, quantity demanded exceeds quantity supplied, a shortage occurs, consumers compete for limited goods, and prices are bid upward. Whereas if the price is too high, quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded, a surplus occurs, firms cannot sell all their output, and they reduce prices to clear stock. These price adjustments continue until equilibrium is reached. Let's formalize this idea. So, shortage occurs when quantity demanded is bigger than quantity supplied. This creates upward pressure on price. Surplus occurs when quantity demanded is less than quantity supplied. This creates downward pressure on price. These imbalances are temporary. The price mechanism works to eliminate them. However, equilibrium is not fixed. It changes when demand or supply shifts. An increase in demand will lead to higher equilibrium price and higher quantity. A decrease in supply, this also leads to higher equilibrium price but lower equilibrium quantity. So changes in demand and supply directly affect market outputs. Let's apply this to a real world example. Consider the market for private school places. If demand increases faster than supply, prices will rise and waiting lists may appear. This indicates excess demand. Now consider taxation. If a tax increases costs for schools, supply may fall and prices rise further. This shows how both demand and supply shifts interact in determining outcomes. Now, it's also important to understand that markets do not adjust instantly. In reality, there are delays. For example, contracts take time to change, firms cannot instantly expand capacity, and consumers takes time to adjust behavior. This is especially true in markets like education and housing. So short-term disequilibrium can persist. Now, under certain conditions, equilibrium leads to efficient outcomes. These conditions include perfect information, no externalities, and competitive markets. In this case, resources are allocated efficiently. Goods go to consumers who are willing to pay the most. Firms with the lowest costs are the ones that produce. However, these conditions are rarely fully met in reality, so equilibrium is not always perfectly efficient. Now, why does equilibrium matter for policy? Understanding equilibrium is essential for policymakers. It allows economists to predict price changes, quantity changes, and the effects of government intervention. For example, taxes, subsidies, and price controls. All of those affect equilibrium outcomes. Now let's summarize. Equilibrium occurs when demand meet equals supply. Shortages push prices upward. Surpluses push prices downward. Changes in demand and supply shift equilibrium. and markets adjust through the price mechanism. The key takeaway is this: prices are not random, they are determined by the interaction of demand and supply. Markets coordinate decisions through price mechanism, and understanding this allows us to analyze real-world economic problems more effectively. In the next lesson, we will go deeper into consumer behavior by studying price elasticity of demand. This will allow us to understand how responsive consumers are to price changes, and this is crucial for analyzing taxation, pricing, and policy decisions. Thank you very much.